Check this out. This is what we've been dealing with, folks, right here. All this snow. Jeez. Got about 10 inches of snow, and luckily it's starting to melt finally. This is the first day we've got close to above freezing temperatures. I think it's 31 out there outside. So nice. Check out this dog. Hey, puppy dog. This is Cash. So I'm up here at Beffa's place, and we're getting ready to break down some of our go-to baits for the pre-spawn for the spring thing, because we're tired of winter. The more we talk about spring, the more it's going to come. So let's go inside, and we're going to talk with Jay and see what he's got. All right, folks, we got all these baits set up, and Jay's going to give us a breakdown. We're going to start out with like the pre-spawn, move into the spawn, and then go into the post-spawn. And, you know, all these baits kind of intermingle. They'll work in all different phases of the spawn for the most part. So as we're moving out of winter, we're getting closer to that pre-spawn period, and that's kind of where we're going to take it from here. So Jay's sitting down here. He's got all his baits. He went through the nitty gritty. He's even pulled out some kind of hush hush secret stuff, some cool paint colors, some just stuff that you may not have seen, stuff that you don't see all that often, but we're going to break it down, and hopefully it's going to help you guys when you get out in the water catch a few more fish. So let's jump right into it. So what do you got here, Jay? I see some wiggle warts there. And
yeah, of course I got the wiggle warts. You know, in the Midwest, that's probably the most popular bait for, you know, that wintertime transition going into pre-spawn. So, you know, one of my favorite baits, though, is going to be, of course, the jerkbait. This one here, painted by Bag 5. You know, just a 110 version. Really neat bait. You know, there's nothing more that gets me more excited than catching fish on a Bag 5, you know, jerkbait. That's one of my favorite types of fishing. I did a lot of fishing at Lake of the Ozarks over the past, you know, 30 years, and you know, it's been one of my favorite times to fish. You know, the winter time, you get out there, the boat traffic's really minimal, and you're able to pull up to a brush pile and jerk this thing over the top of it. You never know how they're going to want it, so maybe you might have to change your presentation. You might have to change your bait, you know, just modify it a little bit, how it's going to sink or how it's going to fall, or maybe they don't want it falling. They may want it rising. So, you know, there's all kinds of different versions out there on the market today, but this one here is definitely my favorite. Take a look at it on Bag 5's website. If you have any questions, you can get a hold of me or Mike Russell. But a couple other ones that I use is, of course, like the Megabass Vision 110. So, you know, that's Midwest favorite, you know, worldwide. This is probably one of the most popular jerkbaits out there today. So, you know, there's a lot of other manufacturers, a lot of brands out there, but, you know, there's a lot of similar ones. But, you know, in the past, like on Grand Lake, I fished a BFL, and it's just interesting that, you know, back 10 years ago, I always wanted something that dove a little bit deeper, and I don't have any displayed here today, but there are a couple that do have the deeper bills on them, the +1s, +2s. So, you know, I was looking at those 8 to 10 years ago, and that was really a bait that I utilized. And even in shallow water, you know, I remember a BFL one time at Grand Lake that I did very well, and I was throwing a deep bill, and I was throwing the thing super shallow, just scrubbing the bottom on it, and then fish were just jumping all over it. So, you know, every situation's going to be different. Every fishing trip's going to be different. You got to tell the fish what you want or what they want, and you know, you just have to adjust from there. But today, you know, one of the most utilized baits in the wintertime going into that pre-spawn, of course, is going to be the Arig. You know, this bait has put so many guys on the map. It has caught so many fish. This is just a fish catching machine here. This one here is just a Yum Dinger. It's got the Hawgz Custom Swim Bait on it. this bait here is just a killer bait. You know, a lot of guys are going with the paddle tail. This grub tail is just a little bit different of a look. We got it in here in our ice blue. It's been a phenomenal bait. This bait will really put some fish in the boats, and a lot of quantities, and also some big ones.
Hey, okay, I gotta interject real quick. So you mentioned the jerkbait and you mentioned the Arig, and those are big time winter baits going into the pre-spawn. So how do you, two questions. How do you decide which colors you're gonna fish as far as the jerkbait and also the swim baits that you're gonna find on the Arig? And also, when do you pick up one, meaning the Arig versus the jerkbait, over the other? I mean, what are some of the keys that you notice on your, I'm sure there's some lake condition stuff, there's some stuff maybe you're seeing on the graph. How do you break that down, and what helps you make that decision?
I think really water temperature, shad kill is really going to play a big part into it. So the shad kill with the jerkbaits is key. You know, when the shad are dying, of course they're going to eat that jerkbait that's you know, lazy, jerking through the water. The A-rig, you know, it's I think it pretty much catch them in any condition there is, unfortunately. But you know, it's just a good utilized bait. Personally, if the fish are a little bit deeper, they're going to be a little bit easier to catch on the A-rig rather than the suspending fish. You know, the jerkbait's a great suspending fish bait, but you know, just changing the depth of the A-rig, you can actually utilize that too, catching them like that. But overall, you know, both of them are more winter type baits. Personally, again, it goes on confidence. So, you know, I love throwing baits that I have confidence in. Of course, the jerkbait I have a ton of confidence in. So I'm going to throw that probably majority of the time over the A-rig.
Yeah, and we're really going to see, here in the Midwest, we got some brutally cold temperatures. I think you were saying like 13 or 14 days below freezing. So we're going to see a shad kill this year. I mean, in the past, it's been kind of spotty. You might see a little bit of a shad kill, but this year, we're really going to see that happen. So I got a feeling that jerkbait is going to be even better this year, and those shad start dying off. Well, and it could be, if you got too much of a shad kill, it can kind of be tough to catch them, you know. But if you're going to catch them, the jerkbait's probably going to be one of the things you're going to be needing to throw.
You know, historically, it's been very interesting to see the tournament weights. The tournament weights in the Midwest will actually show you, you know, what the fish are actually doing a lot. So, you know, you got to take that input and use it to your advantage. But you notice there hasn't been really those big weights that we've had in the past, and I don't know if they're just not utilizing, they're not reacting as good as they used to that A-rig, but it just seems like this year the jerkbait bite has been phenomenal compared to the A-rig bite. You know, it's kind of historically proven that there has been a lot of tournaments won on the A-rig, and I don't know if they're getting used to it or what, but there's a big swing in it right now that they're really utilizing the jerkbait.
Definitely, I found the same thing in my fishing expeditions recently. So moving on into the we went from the jerkbait to the A-rig, and then I see those wiggle warts. When's the wiggle wart going to come in play for you?
You know, my I guess you can call it my one-hit wonder. I actually got a second place. You know, probably my second best finish ever, other than the Bassmaster Central Region Championship. You know, back in 2008, I think it was, or 2006 actually, I actually won second place in the first week of April. I'll never forget, it was April Fool's. I called my son on the way home. He was about 12 years old then, and I told him I won, and he said, "Dad, come on, I know it's April Fool's." Or actually, I got second place, I didn't win, but had 19 pounds that day, and I caught everything on a number 47 wiggle wart, the original wiggle wart. This is, of course, a remanufactured one, but Storm, you know, come out with the remanufactured one. But I caught it on the original number 47. You know, I was utilizing those last channel swing banks, going to the very backs of the creeks. I was up by the dam around Beardsley Creek, and I was just focusing on that 10 to 12 foot of water. I was throwing it on an 8-pound test and getting it down there and just working it really slow once I got it on the bottom, and it was absolutely crazy the amount of fish that I caught. I can go in any pocket around Table Rock and I can catch them, you know, phenomenally on those banks. And they were, you know, the rock banks that just kind of transitioned to the gravel, and they were just transitioning, going back to spawn. So we were real close to the spawn. That was a little bit more towards April. So, you know, when that water temperature, you know, gets closer to that 60 degrees, I think that's when you need to start utilizing the wiggle wart more. But, you know, don't look it up. Don't pass it up in the wintertime. You know, it's an all-around good bait. You know, when them fish just want something different, you got to experience with things every once in a while. You know, if they're not hitting the jerkbait or the Arig, you got a wind-blowing point, I'd definitely pick up a jerkbait or even a Shad Wrap, you know, crankbait types. I got this Shad Wrap weighted down, so, you know, that's a number 8 there, and it's weighted down, so I'm keeping it down on the bottom on them wind-blowing points.
How do you have that weighted?
I got it with the suspended strips on it. So I actually have 3 on this one. I have 2 on the right below the bill, and then 1 on the front hook. So I'm keeping it down nose first, and just power fishing in on like them gravel banks. And when them fish start moving up, and maybe they're, you know, maybe they're blowing up there because of shads up there or something. But that's basically what we look at around channel swings, of course, this time of year. Really focusing on that shad migration where, you know, the shad are going back there, the fish are following them. And, you know, you're just really looking for them shad, and them fish are getting fat for the spawn season, you know, preparing for that spawn. Over the years, you know, I've going into those cold winter months too. You know, when you have them long drawn out winter months into the spring, I've been throwing, you know, a Dirk's jig a lot, a small finesse jig, a Crocagator zapper jig, you know, just a small 3/8 zapper jig with, I like some paddles on it, so, you know, you get a little bit of action in the water. And then, you know, the Crocagator 1/4 ounce shaky head on. This is a finesse worm by Hawgz Custom Baits, 5 1/4 inch. But, you know, the shaky head has really surprised me, and I always thought it was a post-spawn bait, but the more and more I fish it, I'm able to catch fish year round on it. It's probably one of my most utilized baits and one of my favorite baits. Put a little bit different of a worm on it. You know, this is a cut tail worm, just a small 4 inch worm that Hawgz mates also. So, you know, just been tossing that around whenever they get a little finicky there at Table Rock before they go on to beds and stuff. I'll actually split shot that. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you can fish it now. You know, Ned rig's kind of the new thing, but I still like old school stuff, and I'll still split shot this, but it'll be an awesome bait for split shotting. But, you know, that wiggle wart's put a lot of fish in the boat, and there's some great testimonies there with the Midwest, with all the lakes, with the reservoirs around here, and they've been a very good bait. But, you know, going outside the box, there's them fish see a lot of different things, and I'm always looking for something new, and this Fritz side has been a great bait for me. Last year I actually won a couple tournaments on it, Clearwater Lake and Lake of the Ozarks. I caught a ton of fish last year. Typically I'm throwing the 9, the 7, or the 5. 7's probably the most that I throw. You know, going into that pre-spawn transition, going to the spawn, I like that red color. You know, it seems to be a really good bait. Them crawfish are coming out, and they're a little bit more maroon red during the beginning of the year. In transition, I guess really it depends on where you're at though, but that's one of my favorites. Another one is the 3XD. So I don't hear too many people throwing that. Just a little bit different action, but it's been a great bait for me too. So, you know, these are brand new, getting ready for this season. From there, you know, you start getting into that spawn from there, and during the spawn, I've had some old jigs made. These are just a little hair jig, and I want to be able to see that bait. I love bed fishing, but that's just a little old hair jig with a scorpion on it, and you're talking about a killer bait right there. I mean, when they're on the beds and you can actually see it, that's why I'm white. I usually dip the tail in chartreuse, just doing a little bed fishing with it. You know, it just depends on the conditions. We've had some excellent days with this over at Kincaid, and when they get behind them grass mats, you know, just throwing on the beds. It's been really, really fun. Had my biggest tournament weight on this. I had right at 31 pounds over at Kincaid in a Casting for Comfort tournament. And the next year we came back and we won again for the second year. We had right at 26 pounds, and it was all bed fishing. So that was a phenomenal time. That was several years ago though, but had some great success on that. You know, just got some crazy little things. This is just kind of my little bed fishing bag, but you know, you just want something bright that's got to get them to aggravate them, and something that you can see. So that's just a little old trailer that I had. I actually bought these at Grandpa Pigeons, and I'm happy that I bought about 200 bags because I still got quite a few of them. So it's a really neat bait.
So, and all these baits will continue to work. You know, once the water gets warm and the fish start getting out of the spawn, moving into the post spawn, you can continue to throw a lot of these baits, especially your jigs and like the Fritz side. The wiggle wart will continue to work. You know, the A-rig typically, I mean, you can throw A-rig all year long, but the A-rig and the jerkbait are something that we think of as cold water baits. And I know the jerkbait has actually gotten a lot of press for being an all, you know, year-long bait. But we still tend to put those boxes in the back of the closet. Now, I don't fish. Do you fish a rig year-round, or is it typically just a winter thing for you?
It's just a winter thing for me. And, you know, on the jerkbait, you know, there are guys at Lake of the Ozarks that do fish it year-round. And the only thing that I don't like fishing, you know, them fish are a little lethargic this time of the year. So, you know, they're a little bit less to jump off of it. When them fish start getting a little more aggressive, you know, I just think you lose a lot more fish on it. And, you know, maybe I need to up my line size and things like that, because, you know, in the wintertime, I'm throwing mine on 8 to 10 pound test with a light rod. I like a medium light. I'm throwing a Temple Fork Outfit rod, 6'3". But, you know, overall, you know, I just, it's always been a wintertime bait for me, and that's kind of what I look at. But there are guys that do throw it year round, and they catch a lot of fish on it year round.
Well, you get, I mean, okay, so let's be honest. In wintertime, when the water's cold, you're kind of limited on what you can throw and actually produce bites. So as the water warms up, you got all these new options. So by that time, me personally, I'm done with an A-rig. I'm done with the jerkbait. I mean, I'm starting to think like punching, like throwing a frog. And I see you got like a buzzbait in your hand, so that's a post-spawn type bait. So what you got there, man?
So this is a crock gator head knocker. It's probably one of the world's most known baits. You know, this head knocker, this buzzbait has actually won BASS tournaments to, you know, the little Father Son tournament. I mean, this is a phenomenal bait. Believe it or not, this bait can actually pre-spawn. You know, if you're throwing this, you can actually catch a really big one at early pre-spawn. So, and if you get a bite pre-spawn, it's most likely going to be a big one. Mm-hmm. But, you know, as you transition into post-spawn and they start protecting that fly right off the bed, you know, you're going to have a lot of good bites on this thing. And I would be throwing this or a whopper plopper. You know, that's top water fishing. If you don't like top water fishing, I mean, I don't think you're a true fisherman. That's yeah, it's some of the most phenomenal bites that you'll ever have.
You don't have blood in your body if you don't like a topwater bite, man. That's exactly. That's the bite, man. That is so much fun.
Yep, exactly. It's this bait here makes a lot of noise coming through the water, a lot of commotion. You can slow it down. As soon as it hits the water, it's gonna pop right up. But a really good bait, man. It's produced some really big fish for me. So head knocker, I mean, it makes a real loud clackling sound when it comes through the water. And they even make it in a smaller size too, when them fish get real finicky. But this is my favorite size right here. This is actually a 1/2 ounce head, but actually I do like putting the bigger blade on it. So this is a 1/2 ounce blade, but I do like putting the 3/4 ounce blade on it, and just makes a little bit more noise on it. But I just got a little tiny kicker swim tail on it, and this one's a little rusted up. But
do you typically put a trailer hook?
I do. Yeah, I do usually put a trailer hook on it. Yeah, I've heard guys losing tournaments with trailer hooks, but I've seemed to always be able to manage to hold them on. So I've always throw a trailer hook on a spinnerbait or a buzzbait.
Cool. Well, so there you go, man. That's some good stuff. That's plenty of options out there. All these baits work, but they don't work all the time. So you got to have a little bit of everything out there on your deck. Got to play around. You got to feel it out. I saw spinnerbait up in there too. Did you? I like to throw, not this exact one, but I love to throw this thing around in the pre-spawn when those fish start moving up, especially when that water gets in about the mid 40s. And if you got a little bit of stain, something like this with a big, you know, Colorado or willow leaf blade, man, it gets big bites. You may not get as many bites, but the bites you're gonna get are gonna be quality bites. You gotta have a spinnerbait in there too, man. Spinnerbaits, and it keeps on working too. It works all the way through the fall, and it kind of goes away in the winter, you know, because you got limited things that do work in the winter. But something you definitely need to have in rotation is a big nasty spinnerbait. Get you those big pre-spawners. I like a swim jig too.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's another bait that I always throw in the rotation. And
this here's a 1 ounce. So I actually got a number 6 blade on here. I like throwing a number 6 or number 7. You know, when they're coming from that winter pattern into that pre-spawn, even to post-spawn, you can catch some monsters on this. But you know, you really just got to work the conditions. You know, that's what you have confidence in, and work those conditions that day. And you know, that's the biggest thing about fishing, is figuring out that puzzle. Yeah, I'd say the biggest factor of all this is what I call tow time on the water. You know, that's probably the most important factor of everything. You know, if whenever I was fishing every day there, right after I got a divorce, you know, I was fishing pretty much 4 to 5 days a week. And it was amazing how much better I was back then than, you know, now I'm fishing maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. So, you know, it's amazing whenever you actually experience time on the water, what you can actually do with it and how much better you get.
we got Cash made a cameo visit. Yeah, time on the water's the deal. We're gonna wrap this up. So leave some comments. Let me know, what are your favorite go-to baits in the pre-spawn, the spawn, and the post-spawn. Everybody's got their own little batch of secret weapons, and that's one good thing about having a channel, is in the comments, people read the comments, and a lot of times we overlook baits that work. So appreciate you guys coming along on this little venture. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not. Hit that little bell notification, and until next time. So what is your name?
Braxton.
And what do you have in your hand there?
A worm.
A worm? Is that one of your favorite fishing lures?
Yeah.
And then what do you have in your other hand?
Secret sauce.
Secret sauce? Whose secret sauce is that?
Papa.
Papa's secret sauce. I like it. So hold the worm up for me and let me check it out. I'm gonna zoom in on it really good there. Does that worm bite? No.
They catch big fish?
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Thanks.